So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this introductory session on the CCI Enterprise Plus CCNP NRC course bootcamp. So, before we start, first of all, a very happy Independence Day and a very happy Janmashtami to everyone who are celebrating. And before we move on, let me just introduce myself. I am Laksh, and I have been working with Cisco for the past 4.5 years. In the month of December, I will complete 5 years in Cisco. And since most of us are from Cisco, right? So I am working with the BCS team in Cisco, and majorly for the service provider customer. And I have a total 10 years of experience in networking. And I have been training people for the past 2.5 years now, right? And I have trained people on CCNA. I have trained people on CCNP as well, right? So I have trained people on interview series where it was completely concentrated on just the interview perspective. Okay, and I this is my first time that I am training folks on CCIE, but just to clarify, right? So this is a CCIE Enterprise Bootcamp. When I say CCIE Enterprise Bootcamp, I mean to say it's actually a CCNP Encore plus NRC Bootcamp. All right. So we all know that CCNP Encore is basically your CCIE written exam, right? So in also right, once CCI written is your CCNP Encore exam. So previously, before February 2020 year, right? So this was Feb 2020, right? So before Feb 2020, we had different exams for routing and switching. We had different exams for security, data center, etc. Like, so let's say we take one technology, routing and switching, right? So you had a CCNA routing and switching, then you had a CCNP routing and switching, in which you had switch, you had route, and then you had a troubleshoot, right? Three exams were there in CCNP in order to get the CCNP certificate. And then once you clear this, you can write CCI written exam, right? You can write CCI written exam, and you used to get a separate certificate for CCI written exam. Once you write the CCI written, or once you clear the CCI written exam, you are eligible to write the CCI lab exam, right? This was before February 2020, right? After February 2020, what has happened is that CCNA is obviously one single exam, right? There is no CCNA RNS, CCNA security, or CCNA wireless, etc. It's just one single CCNA exam where most of the technologies have been combined. However, for CCNP, they separated, or they divided into multiple technology exams, and inside one technology exam also they divided into two parts. One is a CCNP core exam. It can be any technology. I'm not talking about just the routing and switching. It can be any technology, right? So a CCNP core exam, and then you have a CCNP concentration exams, right? So under CCNP core exam, this is what basically is converted as your CCI written exam. Okay. Until and earlier, as I said, before February 2020, there was no need for you to write CCNP in order to write or attempt your CCI written exam, right? You can directly write your CCI written exam, okay, even without the need of writing a CCNA, right? But nowadays, after February 2020, rules have changed and they have come up with a new policy that until and unless you clear your CCNP core exam, any core exam. So, for example, in this bootcamp, we are going to go through the CCNP Encore exam, right? Which is your enterprise core exam. So, similarly, you have core exams for different technologies like DC core, then you have service provider core, then you have security core, which is called as S core, etc. So until and unless you clear those core exams, you are not eligible to write the CCI lab. Okay. So in this bootcamp, what we are going to go through is the complete understanding of our CCNP, CCNP Encore plus ENARSI. All right. And majorly because it's a boot camp and there are it's a huge syllabus. It's a huge syllabus, right? So if I start taking up even a small amount of lab scenarios, practical, if I start using labs and giving you, start explaining things using, devices, etc., it's going to probably take me 4 months of everything, because the way I'm not sure if I'm not sure if any one of you have seen my previous YouTube videos, or have you ever went through my website and see my other playlists. I'm not sure, but the way I explain in a very in-depth manner where I get inside the packet level of everything. Like even if I'm explaining ARP, I would get down to the bottom of how ARP basically works, right? Even at the bits and bytes level. So if I try to explain all those things using practical in this bootcamp session, right, it's going to take me forever. So this bootcamp is only from a theoretical perspective, right? And what we are going to go through this bootcamp are the topics. Let me just write those down. Okay. And those topics are obviously in the switching side. And what are those topics in the switching side? Obviously, VLANs, right? How VLANs work, right? And especially what is an access VLAN, what's a trunk port, what's an access port, etc. And trust me, we have to know this because let me tell you, I last month I wrote the CCI Enterprise exam. However, I did not clear it. Okay. Anyway, I'm attempting it once again next month, right? So my main intention is to give you the understanding of these topics rather than just explaining you what is it about, right? So we'll talk about VLANs, access VLANs, trunk ports, etc. Right, and then we will go through spanning tree, especially the how spanning tree basically works. We'll talk about rapid spanning tree, and we will also talk about per VLAN spanning. Okay, then we will go through HSRP. Okay, how HSRP works, what is HSRP, hot standby routing protocol, how it works, and what are a few of those features that basically make HSRP predominant in the Cisco network, etc. Right, and then we will move towards the routing side. In the routing side, we will look at, first of all, our most important and favorite topic of all, OSPF, right? So we will get inside OSPF, how OSPF works, what are the different OSPF areas, what are the different OSPF LSAs, and what are the different OSPF states, etc. Right, and then we will look into EIGRP, right? What are how EIGRP calculates its cost to reach a particular destination from a particular source. What is a feasible successor? What is a successor path? What is a feasible successor path? Everything. We'll look into those things. And then the most important of all, BGP, right? So we will look into BGP, how BGP works, right? We will look into BGP commands. Then we will understand the concept of many features inside BGP like the TTL value, the eBGP multi-hop. Then what is the uh, what is an IBGP synchronization black hole? Then how control plane travels in BGP, how data plane travels in BGP, etc. We'll discuss all that thing. We will also discuss the path attributes, right? And then we will discuss about MPLS, right? How label switching is happening, what is MPLS, and why is it called that MPLS is faster than the normal routing, etc. We'll discuss all that. And then the most important, L3 VPN, right? We'll discuss about L3 VPN, what is RD, what is RT, uh, why is RD needed, what is the role of RD, what is the role of RT, okay, how are they different, and how are they basically helping in moving the traffic from one router to the other router, etc. We'll discuss all this thing. And we will also discuss something called as multicast. Okay, we'll discuss these topics in them. Okay, now the topics that we will not be discussing is SD-WAN. To be very honest, I'm not an expert in SD-WAN, and also the automation part. These are the two topics that we will not be discussing, as I do not have much of an exposure in these two parts, right? I'm learning them, right? So once I learn them, probably you may see in near future an invite where I will be explaining SD-WAN and automation. So these are the topics that we will be looking at from a theoretical point. As I said, if I start explaining using practicals or lab scenarios, the duration that I have in mind, right, will obviously be extended. Now, talking from a duration point of view, right, I am focusing mostly on 8 weekends. Okay, 8 weekends. So you can think as 2 months, right? 8 weekends, right? So 8 weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and each weekend we will have 2 hours of session. Okay, 2 hours of session, and I once this is over, I would be or by the end of this session, I will create probably I will create a link where you guys can register, or in this call itself, you guys can let me know which time suits for you, because I am planning to take early in the morning, like 9 to 11 hours. Uh, s- uh, is anyone saying anything? All right. So 2 hours, and my plan is to take from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on weekends. Okay, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Okay. There is a possibility that not many of you may like this timing. So feel free to let me know in the chat which time suits you, and we can adjust that way as well. Okay. Now, okay. So just to give you a brief of how and where this CCIE, or not CCIE, sorry, this enterprise, when we are talking about the enterprise per se, what is enterprise, and where are these protocols that we have, or that I have written over here, where do these protocols basically fall in the enterprise section, right? So let's just have a brief overview of what an enterprise network looks like. because we are going to discuss enterprise. Okay. So first of all, before I move on further with this session, any question, anyone? Okay. So when we talk about enterprise, okay, whenever we talk about enterprise, what is an enterprise first of all? Okay, so Cisco itself is an enterprise. It's a though it's a company, but it's an enterprise in itself. Okay. Similarly, a bank is an enterprise in itself, right? Then a big what a big corporate company, right? Let's say Deloitte or JP Morgan, they are all enterprise in themselves. Okay. So first of all, what do we understand by enterprise? Let's try to visualize it. So when we say enterprise, okay, it from a networking point of view, okay, when from a networking point of view, it means that there are a lot of users sitting and accessing the internet. Okay, so when we say users and when I say lot of users, that means, so let's draw a lot of users over here. PC number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, obviously in an enterprise, even we know that in our offices, there's just not 8 PCs on a floor. There are many PCs on the floor, right? So I've just drawn a small scale of it. So there are a lot of PCs on the floor, right? PCs meaning there are a lot of users, right? And obviously these users, if they want to be connected to each other, or if they want to be connected to the internet, okay, if they want to be connected to the internet, they need to have an interconnection between, right? So when computers were created and when networking or not networking, when intercommunication between network computers was happening, we could connect to computers directly back then. Okay, even now we can connect, but with advanced technologies, right? We do not have those ports or interfaces in many computers. We do not have, or laptops, we do not have those ports or interfaces, especially those LAN interfaces to connect two computers together. Right now, to connect two computers nowadays together, we need something called as a switch. Right. I hope everyone knows how and so not how, sorry, what is a switch and how it works. Right? Anyway, we will be discussing how a switch works in our later sessions. Right? So this is switch number 1, switch 2, switch 3, and switch 4. So in order for these computers or PCs or users to talk to each other, they need to be connected to these switches. Okay. They need to be connected to these switches. And in order for the PCs to be which are connected to different switches, in order for them to talk to each other, then another requirement is there. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Now, if you see, for all these users, these switches are their first connectivity towards, or they are giving them an access to talk to other computers. It can be in the same network or it can be in other network as well. These switches are their first access for communication with other computers inside their network or outside their network, right? And hence this name is given to these switches which are directly connected to the PC, and that is access layer switch. I hope everyone knows this part, right? Access layer switch. These switches which are directly connected to your end users like PCs or servers or even your printers or your IP phones, etc. Right? Those switches are called as access layer switches. As I said, they are the first switch. that are connected directly to your PCs, which are giving them access to talk to someone else. Okay, so these are called as access layer. Now these access layer switches, it's a kind of a rule. It's a kind of a design rule, I may say. It's a kind of a design rule where these access layer switches cannot be directly connected to each other. It's a rule. Okay. Now, if PC number 1 wants to talk to PC number 8 over here, right? And since these access layer switches cannot be connected directly to each other, we need one more layer or one more layer of switches, okay, which is called as a distribution layer switch, which is called as a distribution layer switch. These distribution layer switches are then directly connected to these access layer switches. Okay, and these distribution layer switches are also in turn connected to each other. Right. Now, please remember, these distribution layer switches are not just connected to these two access layer switches, they are also connected to different other access layer switches here. And these access layer switches in turn are connected to end user PCs. Okay. Now, there, as I said, there can be many different distribution layer switches. Many. Okay. So you can think of like on one single floor, there can be many distribution layer switches, which in turn are connected to different access layer switches, and then they are connected to your PC or your Wi-Fi in your on your floor, etc. Right. I'll explain in a bit where the protocols that we were talking about, where are they coming into picture in this whole architecture. We'll talk about that in just a while. So these distribution layer switches are interconnected to each other. And as I said, these distribution layer switches are connected to access layer switches, which are connected to the end users. Okay. Now, as I said, these distribution layer switches are helping PCs to talk to each other. If PC number 1 wants to talk to this PC, it can go via, it can take this path to talk to a PC in its same organization or in its same network. But as we know, as users ourselves, we can talk to anyone inside our network, and we can also talk to someone outside our network, meaning someone who is on the internet, or we can access the internet, like we can access Google on the internet, we can access Facebook, we can access Netflix, or we can access our bank accounts, etc. on the internet, right? So how is that happening, right? So in order to have that access to the internet, these distribution layer switches are then connected to core switches. Now, these core switch, the name says core switch, it can be a router as well, or it can be a very powerful switch as well. Now, when I say switch, it can be a layer 3 switch as well. When I say layer 3 switch, it means that it understands layer 2 information as well. It understands layer 3 information as well. Layer 2, OSI layer 2 information. When I say OSI layer 2, it means it understands MAC addresses, right? And layer 3, meaning it understands IP addresses as well. So it's a powerful high-end layer 3 switch. Either you can have a layer 3 switch, or you can have a different, or you can have a core router itself. So let's, instead of a switch, let's think of it as a router. Okay, or a core router. Okay, these distribution layer switches are then connected to these core routers. This core router is the end of your enterprise. is the end of your is at the end of your enterprise network, meaning that any data that needs to go out via this core router, or any data that is entering your network needs to come through the core router, right? That is the main work of your core router. It helps to send the data out of your enterprise network, and it helps the outside data to enter your network, right? This is the main work of core router. Now, coming back to the protocols that I just wrote over here. Okay, now I am opening this session to it's a Q&A session. Let's have a Q&A session. Can you guys tell me the protocols, let's say the layer 2 protocols, especially the switching protocols that I mentioned here, VLAN, spanning tree protocol, or HSRP, where are we going to use these protocols? Any guesses? Anyone?
Access switches.
Access switches, which protocol?
VLAN, STP, all these.
Okay, so access layer switches, we are going to use VLANs. All right. Anyone else? See, there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. We all are learning, right? It's a learning session. So
We'll use STP also in that.
STP where?
In access layer. Should not
Access layer. Okay,
X-
okay. Just in access layer?
In distribution also, VLANs will be used. It will distribute the
Yes.
VLANs, which is coming from
Yes.
core.
STP also.
Yeah, one
Okay.
quick question. Let's say
Yeah.
the access layers will not connected with each other. They should be connected to distro only, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Should. If it is connected to access, then what will happen? It will form a loop, or it will.
No, it's not going to form a loop. If spanning tree is present there, it's not going to form a loop, but it's a design requirement. To be very honest, even I do not know why access layers cannot be connected together.
Okay.
Okay, probably the reason is, let's say, if I connect this like this. Okay. Now, what is going to happen is I need to start spanning tree between these three, here and here. So what is going to happen is these access layer switches are actually very less or less processing. They actually have very less processing. Okay, not too much of intelligence, not too much of forwarding speed, etc. So over here, if I configure spanning tree on access layer switches, right? What is going to happen? Their overhead is going to increase. Their utilization is going to increase. Their uh, 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 input drops or output drops may increase as well. That is why it is recommended not to connect two access layer switches together. Let them be connected to distribution layer switches, and between the distribution layer switches, you can have the spanning trees. Let the spanning tree be created here, not over here. Let the spanning tree be configured between the distribution layers. So because distribution layer switches are on a higher side, higher end, meaning their processing is better than the access layer switch. They are better, they have a better capacity, they have a better utilization, they have a better speed, etc. In so they can handle more load. That is why it is recommended not to connect two different access layers. Then one more thing, we HSRP. Can someone tell me where HSRP works?
HSRP core if required. Redundancy
On distribution layer.
core.
Right, between the distribution layer here. This is where your HSRP. Okay. Now, one more thing. can we have these routing protocols also somewhere here?
Yeah, in core we can do that. Same area like that.
Yeah, we can also have OSPF over here. And we can also have OSPF over here, because we need the IP addresses in your organization to be distributed across the network, right? So that one PC would know about the IP address of other PC, right? So you will have OSPF running over here as well. You can run OSPF, you can run EIGRP also. It's up to you. You can run OSPF, you can run EIGRP. If you're using a Cisco device, you can EIGRP is a better option because it's a Cisco proprietary. Now, any question up till here? Anyone or anyone would like to add to this discussion? All right. So moving on. Now, beyond this core network is till here was your enterprise network. Okay. So the study of your enterprise is not limited to your enterprise. Study of your enterprise is not limited to your enterprise. It goes beyond the enterprise network as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write this core router over here. Okay. I will be continuing instead of a vertical way, I'll be drawing it in a horizontal. Okay. So this core router, okay, is the router over here. Now, beyond your enterprise, as I said, is your service provider network. Who is a service provider? Can someone tell me? Service provider. What do you understand by service provider? No problem. So
ISP
we
like
have
Intel, Tata, like that.
exactly right. So we have many service providers in India. You have Airtel, we have Tata, we have BSNL, and then we have many local, not I won't say local, right? They are not as big players as Airtel or Tata. So that is why we can have ACT, Hathway, then you have a Microscan, etc. These are also big ISPs. However, they're not as big as the Airtel or Tata, right? So their network is called as a service provider. Now, why are they called as service provider? Why? First of all, we have to understand why are they called as service provider. Okay. Also, once we understand what is a service provider, we will also understand the real meaning of the word internet. Okay. Before I jump into this discussion, service provider, can someone tell me their understanding of internet? What do you understand by internet? What do you understand by internet?
So, as per me, like I think internet is we have multiple websites and they are hosted on the servers, and then those servers are connected throughout the internet or publicly accessible by the public IPs. So basically, that's internet. Like just a small definition.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
It is networks of network.
Network of. Okay.
Yeah, a public network.
Okay.
where many hosts are interconnected. I mean, we can communicate between hosts.
Communication between hosts. So
I mean,
first,
host and clients, maybe.
now internet. Okay. Internet basically means it's actually an interconnection of networks. Simple. That's actually the full form of internet. Interconnection of networks. Okay. Now, when we say networks, okay, when we say networks, first of all, we have to understand what is a network. Okay, this whatever I drew over here, this itself is a network. It's a network of different PCs. It's a network of different switches. It can be a data center where there are a lot of servers connected. There are a lot of PCs connected. There are a lot of high-end supercomputers connected. Right? It's a network in itself. Okay, so internet is actually the interconnection of networks. Right? Now, let's say this is Google's. Many people think Google is internet. No, Google is not internet. Google, Facebook, Netflix, or their sometimes people think bank account is internet. No, that's not internet. Okay, internet is interconnection of networks. So Google has its own network. Google has its own network. Netflix has its own network. Facebook has its own network. Right now, a service provider like Airtel is helping you. You are sitting over here on your PC. It is helping you to connect to these different networks. Okay, so it is giving you a service. It is providing you a service. What is that service? It is providing you the service to connect you to different networks. That is what you call it as internet service provider. It is helping you to connect to different networks in the comfort of your home. Right? Any question or any thing you would like to add over here? All right. Now, what if this is clear, right? We will move on or we will continue our discussion. So the core router, as I said, core router is the end of your network. Okay, your core router is the end of your network. Now let's say you have different branch at a different geographical location. Right? Let's say this is Delhi. This is the Delhi location, and this is, let's say, there's another core router of your, which is at the Chennai location, for example. Okay. Now you want these two networks to be connected together. Or let's say you want this router, which is at the Google side, for example. This is Google's router. Okay. Or it can be your branch router as well. You can think of anything. What I am going to explain you is basically this is how your interconnection happens. Okay. So now your router over here, the Delhi router or your network core router, okay, is then connected to your Airtel's network. It is connected to Airtel's network. Okay. So Airtel, being a big service provider, okay, Airtel being a big service provider, it also has different routers, right? So it will be connected to its own your enterprise router, core router, will be connected to Airtel's router. Okay. Similarly, this Chennai router at the other side will be connected to Airtel's router on the other end. Okay, it will be connected to the this router on the other end. Now, inside Airtel's router, sorry, not router, Airtel's network, it will also have many routers. Okay, router, and they all will be interconnected. They all will be interconnected, right? Now, this core for Airtel, who is a service provider, your routers, your Delhi router and your Chennai router, for Airtel, you are a customer. For Airtel, you guys are a customer, right? So what Airtel says, Airtel will call your router as a customer edge router, CE router, or a customer edge router. Okay. So because it is sitting at the edge, of his customer network, it is called as a customer edge router. Now this customer edge router, similarly, this side, this router is also called as a CE router or a customer edge router. Okay. Now this customer edge router is then connected to the Airtel's router, which are these two routers. Okay. Now these two routers, as I said, they are at the edge of the Airtel's network. They are at the edge of the Airtel's network. So Airtel will call these two routers as provider edge network, not network, router. Provider edge router, PE router. Provider edge router, because they're sitting at the edge of the provider's network, service provider's network. So provider edge router. Now the routers in between or the routers inside the network are called as provider routers. Okay. So these terms, when we will be learning or when we will be discussing L3 VPN, we will discuss these terms or these things in detail. Okay. So provider routers, PE routers or provider edge routers, CE routers or customer edge routers. Okay. So this is a very small, or I would say a very small scale, realistic, I would say a very small, very minuscule, I will say, very minuscule, realistic diagram of a service provider network. So when you're dealing with service provider, you will be dealing only with this portion. Okay. You will be dealing with multiple PE routers. You will be dealing with multiple provider routers. And mostly you will be dealing with L3 VPN. Okay. Now, inside this, what are the protocols that we are going to work? We will be working with OSPF. Okay. We will be working with BGP. We will be working with L3 VPN. Okay. Now, where are we going to use? We are going to use OSPF. We can use OSPF across the network. Why do we use OSPF? So that the network information can be shared across the network. So you can use OSPF across this network. OSPF here, you can use OSPF inside as well, right? You will be using BGP inside. Most of the time you will be using BGP inside, right? Along with L3 VPN. We'll talk about L3 VPN, that is your RD, RT, etc. Right? When we come to L3 VPN at that point of time. Then, as I said, internet is a connection of different networks. right? So not all networks are enterprise networks, right? Not all networks are enterprise networks. Many of them can be data centers. Data center itself is a network as well, right? It can be a Google's data center. It can be Amazon's data center, right? So let's say it is Amazon's data center that we're talking about. Okay. So instead here, imagine this is Amazon's data center. And we all know that Amazon sometimes gives us, does Amazon do a live stream? No. Okay. Think of this as a Geo Hotstar. Geo Hotstar's network. This is as Geo Hotstar's network. So Geo Hotstar, obviously, we use Geo Hotstar to watch live cricket matches, right? Sometimes we watch football matches as well. A lot of things, right? So it is sending us live stream. Okay. When it is sending us live stream, there comes into picture your multicast. This is where your multicast come into picture. Okay, there is no routing there. There is no, obviously routing is present, but IP routing is different from multicast. Okay, we'll discuss multicast when we are when we'll reach there. So these are the different protocols we will come across these service provider networks, majorly OSPF, BGP, L3 VPN, and multicast. All right. Now, beyond this core router on the other side, it's the same thing. It's the same network that we see here. Beyond that core router, you will have multiple distribution layer switches, multiple distribution layer switches connected to multiple access layer switches. Those multiple access layer switches in turn connected to different end users or PCs. All right. And we will be learning about these things. What are VLANs, right? How VLANs are connected, right? What is spanning tree? How spanning tree helps in a loop-free environment? What is spanning tree? What is rapid spanning tree? What is per VLAN spanning tree? Then what is HSRP? How HSRP is helping in sending your data towards the internet, right? Then once your data reaches internet, how your data is flowing using BGP, right? Using BGP, then using L3 VPN, how your data is flowing across your branch router to the other branch router and back. We will learn all these things in this bootcamp. So as I said, it's a theoretical bootcamp, okay, where we will go in depth into the bits and bytes and at the packet level of each and every protocol. My intention is not just to teach you about these protocols or just to like give you a boot camp per se. No, my intention is to go at depth so that even if it is for certification, even if it is for an interview, or even if it's just from your daily roles and responsibilities, or even if you want to tackle some cases in your work, right? My intention is to help you in that. So we'll go deep down so that your foundation is very, very strong. It will help you with certification. It will help you with your interviews, and it will also help you in your, as I said, your daily tasks, whatever you do. Okay. Any question till here? Anyone?
No, that's all good. Thanks.
All good.
Yeah, like sure. Where MPLS will be used, like on this side, on this custom
MPLS. All
MPLS
right. Yeah.
from P router or CE router. Like, that was missing.
Okay. So your MPLS will be basically deployed in this part, MPLs. Okay. Now people get confused, not confused. People use a wrong term. Yes, wrong term. Okay. It's not necessary for you to use MPLs. It is not at all necessary to use MPLs. Okay. MPLs could be used, could not be used. It's up to your discretion. Why did I say MPLS in a wrong term? Because people add L3 VPN to it. MPLS L3 VPN. No, MPLS is different. L3 VPN is different. L3 VPN has no connection to MPLS. Similarly, MPLS has no connection to L3 VPN. So stop using these two words together. MPLS L3 VPN. No, MPLS is a different protocol. L3 VPN is a different protocol. It's not a protocol, it's a feature. Okay. As I said, nowadays MPLS is, as I said, MPLS earlier, when MPLS was created, it was created for faster forwarding of data. Okay. Because that time the routers were not too powerful, or their processing speed was not too powerful. Nowadays, MPLS is not used. It is used very less. Okay, it is used very less. The reason is, when we discuss MPLS, if you know about MPLS, MPLS basically works on LDP, labels, right? It basically works on labels. Right? Labels basically helps identify the data on different routers, right? And it switches those labels and forward the data from one router to the other router. Right? So basically, it's the work of labels. Similarly, in your L3 VPN, you have labels, and those labels are given by your RD and RT, route distinguisher and route target. These are also kind of a label, which basically take your data from one router to the other router. And to answer your question honestly, MPLS is used, I would say, not used much in your service provider network. It is used less, I would say. But if it is ever used, it's used in between the PE routers and inside the provider network. But majorly, L3 VPN has taken over your your MPLS. Any question? Anyone?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure how many of you will be interested to join this session, but if interested, please do enroll yourself uh, through this. The fee is 3,500, and the recordings will be present or will be given after each and every session, right? The recordings will be uploaded on this course. And the best thing is, you will have a lifetime validity for this one, meaning that you can access this particular course anytime you want. Right? So all you need to pay is 3,500, right? And once you enroll, right? Once you enroll, I will create a WhatsApp group, and I will be sharing all the information of the, like, regarding this course on that WhatsApp group. so that you can follow and be updated on what is happening. And the group is not only just for this course. I usually also mention about the extra things or the extra courses that I will be coming up with, and sometimes I also let people know about new roles that I see on LinkedIn, etc. So I use the WhatsApp group for that purpose as well. Okay. And as I said, the validity of this course is lifetime. You can, once you enroll in it, and once, even after the course is over, you can access it anytime, right? For the rest of, once you enroll, for the rest of your access, or whenever, for the rest of your life, it's available to you. So as I said again, this is a this is uh, 8 weekends. I mentioned it as 4 weekends, which I realized when I said 4 weekends with 4 hours. But then I realized 4 hours each day is going to be a stretch for me, and it will be a boring for people who are joining as well. So that is why I made it as 8 weekends, 2 hours each day, right? And I will be starting the actual session from the next weekend, the next Saturday. Okay. And we will start with the VLANs over here. Okay. And one more thing, as I said, we will be checking their DM VPN as well. I forgot to mention DM VPN. We'll talk about DM VPN and GRE, tunnel, multicasting, etc. All that thing as well. All right. Anyone has any question to ask regarding this course? Feel free to ask. If not, I will close this call. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining the call. Have a great day. Bye bye.
You too. Thanks. Thanks, Rich. Bye.